Hello again, my friend. Matt Chevrolet back with another episode here, along with my kitty cat Enzo, simplifying fitness by taking a fundamental approach to diet and exercise. And today's topic is how to basically use health and fitness habits, well, to make you happier. And I know that should be a fairly obvious thing. Like, isn't this whole diet and exercise thing supposed to make our life better and happier? And yes, that is one of the objectives. But so often it can go sideways. I've certainly experienced that to a very large degree. And it's amazing how many times people fall into a black hole of abusive diet and exercise habits that compromise their mental health, their physical health, their quality of life, all believing that it will be worth it in the end. And that's the first lesson to take away from this sort of thing is there's this idea out there that no matter what sacrifice we have and no matter how much blood, sweat, and tears we put into this whole fitness thing, that losing the weight and building the muscle and performing as we want will make it all worthwhile in the end. But the fact of the matter is that it very often is not worthwhile. That is, even if you can get those results, and in the meantime, we're short-term sacrifice and compromising our health and our quality of life, believing that that end result will be worthwhile when you may not even get there. And two, a lot of times when people do get there, they find it wasn't worth it. And that's one of the biggest reasons why they slack off and they lose those results in the long run. So as I've always said, I'm a very big fan of instant gratification. Our habits that we engage in for diet and exercise, yes, they should be beneficial in the long term, in the long run and stuff, but they should also bring us much more short-term benefits as well. They should make you feel good and make you happier today, not 6 months from now or not some distant time in the future, but things should be improving mental, physical, and quality of life well-being in the short term as well as the long term. So don't be thinking, oh, it's worth it now. I'm just going to muscle through and just sacrifice and it'll be worth it, because it oftentimes isn't. The second point is to also not get too fixated on the end result, the goal. And instead, I know it's kind of a cliche thing to say, but it really is about the journey. That the climb to the top of the mountain is more worthwhile and beneficial in many ways than actually being at the peak. And the same thing happens with fitness. This is a transformative journey of our body, absolutely, but it's also helping us grow stronger inside and out. It should be improving our quality of life. It should be improving our mental state and our emotional state. It should be essentially helping us to become stronger versions of ourselves in every way. And the third point is to be more aware of this hedonic treadmill that we very often hear about these days. Sometimes you hear about this in more financial aspects where it's like, oh, if I could just get a better car, better house, or make more money, get a raise or whatnot, that'll make me happy. And so we chase after that goal. And even when we reach it, we do feel good and we are happier, but for a fairly short period of time. But then we just basically adapt to the new circumstance and we're on to the next bigger, better, faster thing. And we get stuck on this, again, hedonic treadmill. And the same exact thing happens with fitness. You hit a PR in the gym, you lose another few pounds, you just feel better and look better generally, and you think, great, now this is what's making me happy. But then, of course, you get used to that outcome. And then you're like, okay, now I need to lose another few pounds, and now I need another PR. And you just keep chasing these things. By all means, improving and seeking to grow and improve is definitely key to a high quality of life and happiness. But when we base our happiness and well-being on solely achieving those objectives, then we're never going to actually be satisfied and happy with what we have, because it just keeps us running around. Instead, what we want to do is, while going after our next goals, which is fine, also practice appreciation and gratitude for what you have. So you may be trying to get that 10th pull-up, but appreciate the fact that you can now do 8. Or you may be trying to lose more weight, but appreciate the progress you've made so far and that you're down a couple pant sizes or whatnot. If we never practice gratitude and appreciation for what we have, we're never going to have enough. And no matter what we achieve, it's never going to make us happy, both in life and in fitness. The next point is to make kind of achieving a bit of a flow state an objective with your habits, particularly your physical training. Now, if what we're doing is pushing us too hard and we're really kind of pushing to the very limits of what we have, it's very easy to overwhelm our mind, body, and lifestyle. But of course, if we don't push hard enough, then things can get boring and tedious and it just feels more like a chore. A flow state is where we have that happy medium, when you're in the zone. It's challenging enough to give you something to really focus and concentrate on, but it's easy enough that you are at least achieving or feeling somewhat confident in your ability to do the things. And this can be a moving target on a daily basis too. Some days hitting like 50 pull-ups may be overwhelming you. Other days it could put you right in that flow state. Heck, even some days it might seem a little bit too easy and you go with weighted pull-ups or something. So instead of always thinking I've got to push myself to my absolute max of what my mind, body, and lifestyle can withstand, instead try to hit that happy medium where you're challenging yourself but not struggling. The fifth point is to harness a bit more of this growth mindset that you often may hear about. Now, a growth mindset is very different from that perpetual hedonic treadmill of you got to go better, 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 better. And instead, sometimes in kind of a knee-jerk reaction against that hedonic treadmill, people are like, okay, just be happy with what you have and just sit tight with where you're at. But I've gotten stuck in that type of idea many years myself, and that's certainly not going to make you much happier or healthier and more fit either. But a growth mindset is a little bit different. It's where you're simply being open to the opportunity and possibilities for improvement over time. So you're not endlessly chasing after some sort of goalpost that's always moving, but you're not so much settling and trying to convince yourself that what you have is enough and you don't need to work harder either. Instead, just being open to looking at what you're doing and saying, okay, so what's the next opportunity for me to just level up in the slightest bit with diet or exercise or your programming? And in my experience, it's this growth mindset that really fuels a lot of fun and excitement in our fitness habits. And typically those who have a more rosy outlook on life are typically those who have a perpetual growth mindset. Now, this next point is one that really should be taken to heart because it's all about the importance of social connections. Social scientists these days are becoming more and more aware of how social connections and relationships in our lives is so integral to our happiness, our quality of life, and even our mental and physical health that we're now recognizing that isolation can be just as detrimental as other types of abusive habits like alcohol, drugs, and so on. So sometimes our diet and exercise habits can kind of isolate us rather than connect us with other people. I've even read books out there that say, whoa, sticking to this diet is the top priority. And if you're going to go to a restaurant or a social gathering, then you can't stick to your diet at that gathering. Well, best to just stay home then. As if they're suggesting that sticking to a diet is more important than seeing your friends, which is not the attitude we want to be cultivating for a truly healthy and happy lifestyle. So beware if your habits are kind of isolating you or pushing people away. You don't want to go the whole lone wolf kind of philosophy with this stuff. And I'm just as happy going on a solo bike ride or working out by myself all the time. But if you find yourself sacrificing or compromising your social connections for the sake of your habits, might be time to kind of reevaluate that sort of thing. And even better, try to cultivate social connections with these habits. Join potlucks, work out with friends, join athletic groups. The more we can use fitness to foster our social growth and connections, the healthier and happier we will be. The efficient use of resources is also something that you want to take to heart. And this is what a lot of things here at the Red Delta Project are all about, like my book, Micro Workouts, and all of the micro workout playlists and stuff, or the videos on the playlist on the YouTube channel. Because oftentimes when our habits take up so much of our resources, so much of your time, your energy, and your attention, they tend to take those resources away from other things in your life. And that can sometimes be good. Sometimes you're taking attention away from other abusive habits like drugs or alcohol, or just simply things that are just eking away some of your time, like Netflix binges and endless video game marathons. But when we're looking at our habits, if they're compromising other things we have value with, again, like social connections or other hobbies that you have, then things can start to go in a downward spiral. Because I know it's kind of a strange idea, but there's a lot more to life than diet and exercise habits. In fact, I would counter that there's a lot more important things in life than your health and fitness habits. So when we're looking at our use of our resources, in my opinion, the shorter and more efficient use of resources are in order to stay in shape, the better. And then the final point on how we can use our healthy habits to live a higher quality of life and just be happier in general is make sure you're taking a fairly holistic approach to your health and wellness. It's very easy to kind of get stuck thinking that fitness is all about how much is on the bar, how many push-ups you can do, or how lean you are. But remember, there's a lot more to being strong and healthy than just working out. And there's a lot more to being lean and healthy and having an attractive body than just diet. So think of other things. Think mental health and things like meditation, therapy, just getting outside and away from distractions. I know personally, if I spend more time outside doing anything at all, I'm mentally more well off. Sleep habits, making sure that if you're focusing on diet, don't neglect exercise. If you're focusing on exercise, don't neglect diet. Take a lot of influences into account, because the more you focus on a narrow band of influences to get what you want, it's going to compromise potentially, again, your quality of life, but it can also really limit your ability to get the very thing that you're after as well. So the more influences you can collectively have some sort of control over, the better your results will be and the happier you're going to be. So thank you very much for watching or listening. If you're listening to this on the RDP podcast, my kitty cat Enzo thanks you very much. And more videos here. Hit the likes and the shares and everything if you get something out of this. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Be fit and live free.